Can everybody hear me? Good. Alright, so my name is Drake McCarter. I'm a junior here. I'm a kicker on the football team. And I'm just going to share my testimony with y'all. So, I didn't really grow up in a Christian home. I don't guess you could say my dad, my family, like, they would tell us who Jesus was, wanted us to know him, but we didn't go to church. We weren't really big on doing that. And so I didn't really know who he was as a kid. And so when I was 10, they divorced. And this whole time I lived off sports. That's what my life revolved around. I didn't know, Jesus wasn't involved in anything when I was a kid. So when I was 10, they divorced and my mom left. So that was big on us. That was big on my brother and my sister. They didn't really get to grow up with my mom as much as I did. And then my dad worked all the time, so we really didn't see him either. I would see my dad maybe 3 times a week. So it was kind of me, my brother, and my sister on our own, and we didn't really have anybody to help us grow up as young children. And we didn't really have this figure of Christ in our life either. But there was a church about a half mile down the road from our house. So on Sundays, some days, we would wake up and we would walk to church so we could go, just because we were interested in doing this, and because I wanted them to know who he was. I kind of had this idea, but then again, I didn't, because I didn't really grow up with it. But all I really had was sports. I had them in sports, and I'm the kicker. I started doing that when I was in the 7th grade, and the guy that taught me how to do it would come pick me up from the house, and we would go out, and we would do this for hours. We would just kick the same 2 balls and go get them. He said, taught me discipline, just kicking these 2 and having to go get them and kick them again. So that's what we would do. And again, the same time, this figure of Christ was in my life. My life revolved around sports, and same into high school. My first 3 years, that's what it was. That was kind of all I had. That's what my life revolved around. That's what I wanted my life to revolve around. And kind of getting into my senior year, about midway through my first semester, I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what I really wanted to do with my life. I knew I wanted to go to college, but I didn't know where, and I didn't know how I was going to get there, because we couldn't afford to go. So I was kind of clueless on what I wanted to do. So I started going to church regularly with a friend, and that kind of changed things for me. Just getting to do that every week will really put into perspective who he is and how you really want to live your life. So when I went, it was probably 2 months. It was every Sunday I went with him, and it was kind of one of those sermons where it just hits you. You just know he's talking to you, that he's kind of calling you out. And that was when that's when I accepted Christ. That's when I knew who he was. I knew that I was saved. I knew that that's how I wanted to live my life. I wanted to live my life for him. And it was, like, you hear a lot that God's timing is perfect. And I completely believe in that, because it was after this time because it was getting toward the end of football, and I started to receive offers. I had an option to go to college and actually have it paid for. So that was big for me, having the chance to do that. So I ended up signing to play at my community college at Northwest, and first thing I did when I got there was find out what I could get into to stay in this walk with Christ. So I joined the Baptist Student Union there. I became a leader, and we really changed things there. We made it known. The first night I was there as a leader, we had 40 people show up, and 2 weeks later we had over 180. So we kind of changed things there, and that was a fun experience, getting to help people really know him. And it was kind of the same thing there. Not really knowing what I was going to do after those 2 years, not knowing if I was going to get the chance to play again. And it's just the same thing. God's timing is perfect. And after the season, I had a few options, and this one just kind of spoke to me. And I'm on the lead team here at FCA now, so I'm getting to continue walking with Christ and getting to do this and tell people my story. Sorry. But it's just big for me. There's just no other way I'd really like my life to be right now, where I am with Christ, and just how happy I am, the season I'm having, the friends I've made, the people I've known. For Justin, he's played a big part in my life the past 2 semesters I've been here, and I'm just grateful for everything I have. That's kind of
appreciate you guys. I'm gonna drop some bombs on you, but the good kind, I promise. I'm not here to hurt you. I love you very much, okay? I really do. Thank you for laughing. It's good. It's okay to laugh. I'm glad you did. Look, if y'all ever get a bad call, please come to me. Please let me do a prank call for y'all. You will never get a spam call ever again. We're like, please never call this number. Won't happen, I promise. Anyway, can you guys, first of all, clap for Drake and for Peace? That was awesome. Can we clap a little bit louder? Like, one more time. Thank you. I'm gonna sound like a Southern Baptist preacher, but I need to say 3 words. You are more. Can I say that? You are more. Can you say, I am more? Okay, awesome. So, I am definitely not your average Christian. God has been very gracious to me, and so I'm going to talk about that. I come from a very broken family. I've got, so everyone in my family is Hindu. My mom and dad were born in India. My dad had a really abusive brother, and that's why he actually came to the U.S. And then mom had a pretty strict mom and dad, but pretty good life in India, but they married, came here. I've got a brother who's 6.5 years older than me. He and my parents would fight nonstop when I was a kid. So most of the days I'd wake up and I'd hear yelling or screaming or shouting. That went on for really a long time. And I had no self-worth. You know, I looked at the mirror and saw myself and saw garbage. I thought I wasn't worth anything. I thought that I was no good. I thought that I could try and prove my worth by doing stuff. And so I was the kid in high school, middle school, who had I finished high school with a 100.61 average. Some of y'all are looking at me like I'm crazy, but no, I really did. But really all my life, you know, I tried so hard to prove my worth. I said, God, I'm gonna do this, and do this, and do this, and then I'll be happy. If I just had this, I'll be happy. If I just do this, then maybe my parents will really love me. If I just do this, then maybe I'll feel like I'm important. And every single time it would fall short. Elementary school, I went to a Christian school, and a lot of people, you know, it was really chill, but once middle school came around, middle school was just that awkward years for everybody. Anyway, I'll never forget, I was in 7th grade, and this teacher had put me with this girl to be my partner, and this girl pointed at me and goes, "You never, not him, no way." She didn't want me. And then I thought about my parents at home who were fighting with my brother. And then I thought about how I fell short so many times. The only reason people at school would talk to me was because I could do stuff for them. I'd come, I'd fix the computer, I'd give them a laugh, and on the win. It was all about what I could do for them. But I never felt loved. And it was really hard. Because I just wanted someone to love me. And I felt like no one did. And I was miserable. And I had a smile on my face, but I just felt awful on the inside. And so I finally remember my 8th grade year. My dad had to move. He got screwed over at his job, and so he had to move. My mom started working 2 jobs again. My brother totally went on the wrong path, started into the wrong things. And so every day I would come home, I would comfort my crying mom, who was worried about my brother. I would call my dad, who was 5 hours away, and miserable because he was away from home, and worried about my brother. All the meanwhile, I was feeling awful on the inside, and I was trying to make everybody around me okay, but I wasn't okay on the inside. And I finally remembered, I tried so hard in school, I tried so hard to love people, but I just never felt like I was enough. I felt like I was trash. And I remember in Bible class, my 7th grade year, I had a teacher who really loved me for me, and just kind of like showed me that I had some value. But then finally, my 8th grade Bible class, my teacher talked about how, we're not trash, how there's so much more to us than we realize. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm still no good. And then finally, another class that 8th grade year, the same teacher, but he said, God's not a monkey. And I was like, wait, what? Because all my life I've been raised Hindu, and Hindus believe there's like millions and millions and millions of different gods. To this day, I don't get it. But I was believing it because my parents wanted me to believe it. That's how they raised me. But when I heard that, I was like, wait, crap, God's not a monkey. What am I doing? What am I believing? And I remember walking away from that class. I was mad. I was angry. I was like, is what this guy's saying actually make sense? Is it true? Like, is there more to me than I really realize? And so finally, I remember going home, and I thought I was going to be a Christian and a Hindu, and I was going to live life, I was going to fix things in my family, and everything was going to be okay. And then sure enough, my brother got worse. Sure enough, things for my dad got worse. Things for my mom got worse. And I was ready to give up on myself. I was like, I don't want to live anymore. I can't live anymore. I don't know why I'm alive. I don't want to be alive. I just don't care anymore. I'm no good. I never will be. This earth would be a better place without me. And so I got to a point where I almost wanted to end it for me. I thought this world would be a better place if the tool wasn't in it. But through all of that, the Lord is just really good, y'all. I remember someone walked up to me in the cafeteria and they were like, what do you believe? And I was like, well, I'm a Christian and a Hindu. And they were like, you can't do that. Scripture has the 10 Commandments, and one of the things they said was that the very first one, you shall have no other gods before me. And I was like, oh crap, I can't do both. Shoot. And so I remember finally I got home, and throughout this year, we had various chapel speakers talking about identity in the Word, and how your word's so much more than you realize. And finally I remember I was in the gift room of my house, and I broke down because I realized that all this stuff that I believed in for all my life wasn't true, and that what Jesus said about me was that I had value and worth and identity, but only in Him. And I remember, y'all, I didn't know who I was, but I knew who I didn't want to be either. I knew I didn't want to be fake. And I was terrified to talk to my parents. I don't know what they were going to think. But I was crying my eyes out, and I called my mom, or called my dad on the phone, and I was like, Dad, I want to be a Christian. I don't want to be a Hindu anymore. And he said, I get it. You go to a Christian school, there's similarities, but still be a Hindu. I was like, no, Dad, I can't. Like, this is all I have. I have to do this. And we kind of talked for a bit, but I was crying my eyes out, and I finally gave my heart to the Lord. But there's a lot more to it than that. For years and years and years, I still struggled with trying to find my identity in performance or in worth or in people. I wanted so hard for people to just love me for me. And it felt like everything I had, it felt like all the relationships I had with people were about what I had to offer and not about who I was. And that was one of the hardest things for me to struggle with. I was like, I just want someone to love me for me. And so the thing I want to tell y'all today, and the thing that the Lord has been showing me over and over and over and over again, is that it's not about what I have to offer, it's about the one who brought me there in the first place. Y'all, you see, the really cool part about the gospel is that God doesn't love us for what we have to give, because the truth is we have nothing to give. But He's the one in the first place who allows us to give. You know, we have nothing to offer Him, but He loves us anyway. I love Acts 17:24. It says, God isn't served by man's hands as though he needed anything, but he made all things for life, breath, and godliness. And so what that means is that God doesn't need me, but he wants me. And that is the truth that I have been resting in ever since my freshman year. When I came to my prayer was, God, I want you to wreck all of me. Take away all of the tool and give me all of yourself, because I don't want my life to be about me anymore. And so when I read that verse, it really shook me. And again, I'm going to say it one more time, y'all. God doesn't need you, he wants you. Your loveliness isn't changed by your usefulness. And so with the gospel, the world says that who you are is what you do. The world says that you make the good grades and you play the perfect sport and you do all this stuff that you matter and you're success-worthy. But the gospel says no. You're not good, but I came to make you good. The Bible says that we've been made righteous. You know what that means? It means that every single good thing that Christ did has been credited to our account. So who we are is not a failure, not a mess up, not a screw up. Who we are is so much more than our mistakes, our failures, even our successes. Who we are is the Son of God who came on this earth and did everything perfect, felt everything we felt, so that we could be made right with him. So when God sees us, he doesn't see our sins and our failures. You know what he sees? He sees himself. When we're a believer, he sees himself. And so I want you guys, the reason I said you are more, I want you to know that you're more than some of your past mistakes. You are more than the problems that you've created. You are so much more than a grade. You are so much more than all of the things people have told you. There are so many things sometimes that people label us as, and I want you to know that you are more than that. You know what God says? You are his beloved. Jesus says that you are his beloved sons and daughters with whom he's well pleased. Jesus said, I loved you so much I wanted to die for you. And so I want you to know that. Can y'all say, I am more? So that song we sang, New Wine. Y'all remember how it goes in the crushing and the pressing, you were making new wine? So this battle of power right up here, so I want to show you all something. I feel like a lot of us feel like this bottle. We're like, yeah, God loves me and all, but I only have this much to offer. We feel like a half-empty bottle of Powerade. So here's the thing, guys. All of the things that Peace and Drake were talking about, trials, tribulations, all this stuff that we go through, God is giving us more and more of himself. So here's the really cool part, right? A lot of us feel like this. Y'all bear with me for a second. But here's the thing, right? Whenever we go through trials and stuff, here's what God does, right? We feel like this, and God goes like this. It's full! Yay! But it's true, right? So many of us feel like this little half-empty bottle of Powerade. And I'm here to tell you that you're more than that. You're more than that. You're more than your mistakes. You're more than your failures. You're more than your successes. You are God's beloved child. That's who you are. And so I want you to know that in the crushing and the pressing, he's making new wine. You're so much more than this, y'all. You know what you are? You're so loved and so incredible that God's love is literally going like this inside of you. It's literally overflowing. So I want you to know that when you are wondering why, in the crushing and the pressing, when nothing makes sense and you wonder why God is good and why all this stuff is going on, when you feel like you have no value, you feel like you have no worth, you feel like you're nothing but a mistake and a regret, when you feel like everything is ending and you have nothing to bank on, you are loved, and God is making you one. I promise, guys, you are worth so much more than you believe. And so if you learn anything from what I've said tonight, I want you to know that you are more than what you've done. Because your life is not about what you've done, it's about what Christ did for you. And so your value and your worth doesn't dictate and flow by your actions. You're not good when you do good and bad when you do bad. Again, your loveliness doesn't change with your usefulness. And I feel like a lot of you are in here going, but man, I'm so broken. I don't have anything to offer. And so to quote my favorite man, Bob Goff, You know what he says? It has always seemed to me that broken things, just like broken people, get used more. It's probably because God has more pieces to work with. And so I want you guys to know that in your brokenness, and your questions, and your struggles, that you are so much more than you realize you are. Can you guys just say, God loves me? I'm God's beloved child. Can y'all say, I'm God's beloved child? I'm a masterpiece. Y'all, God is making new wine out of each and every single one of you. I don't know what you're going through, but I know that God is good. I know that God loves you. And I know that God has brought you here for a reason. I don't know what it is, but you are worth so much more than you realize. I want you to know that. Thank you.